Live and just Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting live stream with immigrationquestion.com. My name is Maliha and I'll be your host for today's session. Have you ever thought of a pathway that offers not just the promise of permanent residency in the United States, but also the chance to contribute to the nation's economic growth? Well, that's EB-5 Investment Program. It is a program that has evolved significantly over the years, from its inception to recent overhauls under three different administrations. The evolution of EB-5 is a story of adaptation, opportunity, and legal challenges. Our topic for today is EB-5, covering new law under three administrations, with special focus on Obama, Trump, and Biden's regime. This was thoughtfully designed to give a detailed run through of the evolution of the EB-5 visa under three administrations. Today, we are diving into this fascinating journey, and we are thrilled to have with us today the seasoned immigration attorney who has been at the forefront of EB-5 cases. An immigrant himself with decades of experience, he founded a leading immigration law firm in Chicago and is dedicated to helping others navigate complex immigration issues. Joining me in is Mr. Attorney Olusanjo Omoniyi. Welcome, Attorney Omoniyi. We're excited to have you again on our live stream.
Thank you for having me.
It's our absolute pleasure to have you here, Mr. Omani. To our audience streaming on various online platforms, as always, it's about to get exciting. So grab your notepads and pens as we begin. Without any other formalities, let us dive into today's topic. Let's start with some history, Mr. Omani. The EB-5 program was created back in 1990, but its modern iterations have seen significant shifts. Can you give us a brief timeline of the major changes under the last three administrations?
Yes, thank you for having me again. EB-5, just like you said, started originally in 1990 when the Congress passed the EB-5 Act. And in 1992, the Congress also, because we were thinking of how to apply the law, it led to the another changes, which is the creation of regional centers. An amendment allows regional centers to undertake the implementation of EB-5. Regional centers, by definition, are investment companies sanctioned and approved by USCIS. The purpose of those organizations is to help foreign investors apply their money, their investment money, into various projects in the U.S. for profit purposes. Okay, the reasons behind EB-5 are of two folds. Okay, first, we want to improve the economy and grow jobs in the U.S. So the money being invested by foreign investors are being used to create jobs for those who are qualified to uh, be employed in the US. Um, and the general requirement, which has not changed, is that an average foreign investor must create 10 jobs with the investment. Okay. We're talking a permanent job now. Okay. And uh, the regional centers were the ones organizing and utilizing those money. Okay. They usually invest the money in what we call new commercial enterprise, NCE. Uh, we, we created a project. That project that they are collecting the money for is usually known as NCE. That at that time it keeps going, but we we had in place during Obama's era. Uh, the general rule is the minimum investment one can have is $500,000. Okay, and the maximum you can invest is $1 million. I mean, about uh, later on it got changed. Okay, he, and the basic requirement for the investment of that money, the investment must be either in for those $500,000, they're usually invested in what we call employment targeted area. Okay, TEA, targeted employment area, and usually they tend to refer to places where the economy is not doing as well as the general economic uh, uh, status in the country. Usually, it is generally known as rural areas. Okay, in most cases, and those who want to invest the higher amount or want to invest in urban area. Urban area usually you have to put down $800,000, but uh, that kept was kept in place until uh, the Trump administration came in. Okay, then it changed. Okay, the the Trump administration raised the money, uh, so instead of 500,000 or 800,000, it raised it between 900,000 to $1 million plus. Okay, but that did not uh, uh, it was not effectively implemented because his administration only lasts for 4 years. So uh, when Biden administration came in 2020, it changed the rule, but it never went back to 500,000, 800,000 that it used to be under Obama, but it never accepted the higher amount imposed by the Trump administration. Okay, it set the amount into a lower level to $800,000 for minimum, and the highest or the higher level is $1.05 million. Okay? In between, it also created uh, a new set of areas of investment. Okay, in the past, we used to categorize them as urban and rural area, but the Biden administration changed the state, the status of things. Now, the $800,000 are still now they're being applied to rural areas, but they added it. The administration added two areas to it. It added what we call not just the rural areas, but it focuses as well on what we call uh, infrastructure area, meaning that those regional centers that want to uh, create NCE or they have NCE that are doing things like roads and bridges and infrastructure, and that infrastructure could be both rural area and it could be in urban area location. But if they are labeled as infrastructure, okay, you can just invest $800,000 there. Okay, but if you want to go to urban area, the amount they set was 1 million.05. So in essence, uh, they also built in a little futures that really help a couple of countries, okay, particularly investors from countries that are generally known to suffer from retrogression. Retrogression means people who invest their money, but they may be waiting as a result of too many subscriptions from their countries. They may be waiting for 3 to 5 years plus. The, there are three countries that tend to suffer under the old administration. When I say old administration, I'm talking of Obama's administration or any administration before that. Uh, those three countries are India, China, and Vietnam. Okay, depending period of some of these people are like 6 years plus, and that process, what we tend to experience is it's not unusual that if you're from China, your waiting period could be as high as 6 to 7 years before your first petition is even approved, which is the green card, because that is the purpose of EB-5. You get the green card if you invest the money. Uh, Now, as a result of the breakup in what Biden administration put in place, investors from India, China, and Vietnam, some of them are now moving faster. They can get their approval within, in some cases, depending on the project or the location of the NCE, some are now getting their first level of green card within 12 months or less, okay, instead of waiting for 3 to 6 years. Uh, Whereas in some other countries where they don't experience retrogression, uh, their petition is usually faster. So that is helping everybody overall. So the three administration, you looking back, things have moved in the right direction. It's now faster, and although the amount that an investor has to put down is higher, okay, but people do get a faster response, particularly from India, China, and Vietnam.
Absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree on that, and that's really fascinating as well, Attorney Omni. One key change was the increase in investment thresholds, like you mentioned that it was just,
Yes.
yeah. And so, can you explain what are the current requirements and how are they compared to the previous standards? Do you just explained it how it is? If you could brief us about it based on the present circumstances.
I think the current which we are looking at is the current system which has been put in place by the Biden administration uh, is likely to continue until the new administration comes in. Uh, our experience has always been that, and the advice to a lot of people out there is we should expect uh, more changes coming with the incoming uh, second Trump administration, because the first time around, it reviewed what was in the system and felt that $500,000 is too small. It increased it, and it also increased the higher amount that need to be invested. So the new administration coming in, one should expect that there will be more changes in that department. And we have been advising people to be aware of that possibility because we don't want people to presume that the Biden administration process or procedures, uh, which started in 2022, uh, we continue, even though the law as it was passed in 2022 um, guarantees that the EB-5 will be in place for about 5 more years, that is until 2027, before anything is changed. But it, 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 one should be aware that that is not likely to be the case. Okay, there will be a change coming down the road, and it will be a change that will affect all business immigration in one way or the other.
That's very interesting, Attorney Omini. Can we speak a little bit about the reforms, the regional centers, which play a crucial role in the EB-5 landscape? What are the updated guidelines for the regional centers, and how do they impact the investors?
Yes, thank you for that. That's an excellent question. In 2022, uh, the various uh, actors in the EB-5, with, working with the Congress, passed what we call RIA, Reform Integrity Act of EB-5. Okay, because that law, which is the current law, came into being because of various problems and experience we've had. Now, take into account that the EB-5 has been around since 1990. Okay, so in 2022, we've been operating the law in one form or the other for about 32 years. So the experience is there. We've seen the failures, the successes, and the problems that EB-5 has. Okay, one of the and just the title, the way the title is given, reform integrity. Okay, we want to reform the law because there have been a lot of fraudulent activities in the among some of the people who are operating EB-5. There's now been a good regulation of some of the participants, uh, either in the projects they are investing the money on, and we've recorded a couple of failures, spectacular failures, where a large sum of money of these foreign investors may not be recovered. So the effort was to reform the system. And so far, the government imposed through RIA a lot of stringent measures. Uh, Registration is now required for people who are engaging in the uh, in because it's now being termed. The money being invested is being termed as securities. Okay, we want somebody who has a security license or who is qualified to look as for being investor advisors and things like that. So, a lot of uh, efforts to get rid of those who are uh, double dipping, meaning that they play the role of attorneys, but they also behave more like brokers, but they're now licensed brokers. So, so a lot of efforts have been put into cleaning the process. But the standard reasoning behind EB-5 is still in play, which is you invest your $800,000. The idea is that if you invest it with the regional center, okay, mm, I've, you must create, or even if you are investing it by yourself, because there are two forms of EB-5. You can have what we call direct investment, meaning you will run your own business, you will operate it, uh, or you put the money with the regional centers, okay, which we call indirect investment, meaning you don't have to run the day-to-day operation of how the money is used or utilized. But whether it is direct or indirect, the investments must result in the creation of a minimum of 10 jobs, 10 full job, time job, okay, within 2 years of operation of investment. And second, you have the option to go into various areas to invest, whether it's in rural area or urban area, but you must meet the requirement. The third thing that is now being emphasized, okay, is a source of fund enforcement. That is, we want to know how you make the money that you are investing. The investigation is now thorough, in depth, and we want to know whether that money that's being invested come from legal source. That is a term. That is a very important term that everybody must underline. Is it legal? Okay, how do you define the fund to be considered legal? Okay, it must not be hand from unscrupulous means. Okay, the fund can come in form of gift from friends or relatives, but you must have be able to show the paper that it was a true gift. Okay, it may be a loan, but the loan cannot, the collateral for such a loan cannot be the project you are investing in. Okay, it must have come from an independent collateral. And speaking of the collateral, you must prove that you have the means to pay that collateral, or you are the owner of the collateral. Say, like somebody who is using their houses, okay, as collateral. We want to see the title to that uh, real estate property, that they're true owner of it. Okay, it could come from even lottery wins. Maybe you are lucky enough to play lottery. As long as the lottery or the game where you won the money happens to be legal within the country, by the law of the country where that money is coming from. Okay. And one important thing that is affecting everybody is how the money was gathered and sent to the regional center. Okay. We all of these, we call it path of fund, PATH. Show us the path of funds, how that fund was gathered, uh, whether you can afford it or not. We want you to show us the proof that it was genuine, it was legal, and now in investment, as everybody knows, uh, the investment in business has its risk. You can lose it, and you can win a lot out of it. Okay, but that understanding must be there that the investment you're putting down could be lost as a result of the investment. But we want everybody to understand what they're getting into and be able to prove uh, they're walking on the right path.
Well, that's upsetting, but again, that's the truth. Moving on to our next question, Mr. Omani. Now, for those navigating the EB-5 process, what are the essential steps to ensure a successful petition in today's legal landscape?
Okay. Well, the first thing uh, is to make sure uh, if let's assume you're working with a regional center, okay, you want to get all the subscription agreement from that regional center, understand the project that they want to invest your money into, make sure that you ask the right questions. Uh, a, a very important thing to do is to employ an attorney. I can't emphasize that enough. Employ uh, an EB-5 attorney if you can. And you should be able to, because if you're putting $800,000 down for somebody to manage it for you, you want somebody who understands the layout of the marketplace, who can describe for you, check these agreements you want to sign, look at the records of the regional center to make sure they are truly uh, certified, approved, and they're in good standing. Okay, because this is one of the very reason why RIA came into being. We want to reform the integrity of the law in the way it is applied, because we had tons of cases where people put money down only to find out that the regional center uh, doesn't have what it takes to operate successfully, or there may be fraud in the process, and if their money may disappear as a result. So check very well to make sure you have all the information before you step forward to it. Okay. Uh, and
Abs-
okay.
Yes, absolutely, 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 Attorney Omini. And thank you so much, Attorney Omini, for your time so far. And thank you for joining us. To the audience, if you're just tuning in from social media platform, we have the honor of being joined today by Attorney Omini, a seasoned immigration attorney who has done an amazing job with today's topic. This is immigrationquestions.com, a platform designed to make every immigrant's journey in the US easier. Ask your immigration questions for free in any language. You will be able to be connected to a verified attorney who can help you with legal guidance. Even better, you may even secure yourself a discreet and free initial consultation with an immigration attorney based on discretion. Head to www.immigrationquestion.com and sign up today. Before we get into the live question and answer, Mr. Omini, let's talk about the future investment in the United States. Given the trajectory of policy changes from Trump's previous administration, what is foreseeable with investments in the United States with this new administration coming into actions in 2025?
That's what I pointed out at the beginning, that the Trump administration, we've seen it before. Okay, it's a movie we've seen before. It has the uh, tendency, and that is expected of any new administration, to change the rules of the game. Okay, they may impose new rules, and we do expect them to do that. So, um, any investment that is not done by January 20, when his administration is going to come in, uh, and may be affected, okay, be by the new rules that they will impose. Okay, like I said, uh, the amount required during the first Trump administration was higher than what the current Biden administration is operating by. Okay, they may revise it again, and we should expect the revision. Okay, even though the law that we have in place says uh, the law will be in place until 2027. Okay, uh, that the one should not uh, operate with uh, a blind optimism that it will be kept that way, because uh, the administration has the potential, and we do expect that it will uh, revise the rules. I, in, the amount may change, and additional rules may be added on what we need to keep the integrity of the law going forward. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely, Mr. Omini. Totally agree with you on that. And this has been such a rich conversation. To our audience, the floor is now open for your question and answers. Please feel free to type your question into the chat box. We'll try to address as many as possible.
yes.
If you want to call us live and ask your questions directly, the number is 516-703-3483. I repeat, the number is 516-703-3483. So moving on to the very first question that we have, Mr. Omini from Mr. Abdullah. Since I already invested in the EB-5 project before the new law changes, what will happen to my application now?
Okay, that's a good question. A, um, a, in the scheme of rules of law, there is what we call retroactivity. That is something that is in the past. Okay, uh, the general rule is that under the law, like Mr. Abdallah has indicated, if he already has a petition going on, okay, if the new administration that is coming in, that is the new Trump administration that is coming in, the general rule is that the law does not permit that the new rules that the incoming administration may put in place to be retroactively applied, that is, to be applied to the existing law. Okay, it will only take effect from the point when that law is put in place. Chances are, and the general rule is that it will not be applied to the application that is already pending. So,
Thank you so. Mhm. Yes, yes, Mr. Romani. I'm so sorry.
and so, in essence, if the investment had been done under Biden administration, it will be operating under Biden administration law.
Absolutely, 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 Mr. Omini. We have a question from Mr. Abdul Salam. I want to get a green card for immigration attorney to help my family to have good food because in my country there is no salary to live. Um,
Okay. I could see the question to refer to Mr. Abdul Salam
mhm.
Abdul. Uh, a
I'm
EB-5, as I can
AB5.
emphasize, is a for-profit investment. Okay, it's not a non-profit venture.
Mhm.
So
Correct,
one
correct.
must put the money down, or you're not
Mhm.
qualified.
Right,
Okay.
right. I agree with that. Absolutely. Moving on to our next question from Bembe. Yes, I want to invest, but what if my application is denied after I invest? Will I get my money back?
Okay, that's an excellent question. That was one of the reasons why RIA, the Reform and Integrity Act, was passed in 2022. Okay, we usually encourage investors to ask that question. Okay. The general rule is if you file a petition, but your petition is denied, particularly at the first level, okay, which you file what we call I Form I-526E. Okay, I don't want to bother your audience too much with the acronyms. Okay, but the first level of 526E is what we call conditional green card, meaning temporary green card that we lead to temporary green card. Then after 2 years you can apply for permanent green card, which we call Form I-829. Okay. Now, to address Mr. Bainby's question, okay, if you file a petition at 526 level and it's rejected or denied, okay, for any reason, okay, they may ask you before that denial occurs, they will have asked you tons of questions, maybe because you have a failing a documentation or something are not correct, they will ask you to correct it. If you can't correct it, if it's eventually denied, there should be in the agreement you sign with the regional center. And I always ask people to take that into consideration. We call it EXIT strategy, exit strategy. You should have something in your subscription agreement that we say if my petition is denied, how do I get my money back? Most regional centers will have something in there in that subscription agreement that will tell you the steps you need to take to get your money back. It's generally money are generally returned. Maybe there may be some expenses because they've been working on your petition for quite a while. Okay, that you may not get back, but yes, you should be able to get your money back. Make sure that any petition you file has some kind of condition in that agreement saying if things don't work well, I'll get my money back. That's the general, and it's always done that way.
Agree with you on that, Mr. Omni. Moving on to our next question. If my investment project becomes bankrupt, can I pick another project without starting all over again?
That's a very good question. In some cases, uh, the answer may go one way or the other. Okay, and the reason is that if the if it is like a project specific that is about to go bankrupt, because the regional center is managing the project. Okay, there are some ways by which people can recover something out of it. Okay, but if it is the regional center itself, you see what I'm saying? Let's make the distinction in where
Right.
the and there's so many ways that could happen. Uh, we've had a couple of cases where the regional center itself was actually fraudulent right from word go. So a the proprietors and operators of that project, the government stepped in, took over whatever bank account they find in their bank accounts. Okay, in that kind of situation, it means that regional center does not have anything that much other than whatever money is left on the in the
Right.
bank account. Okay, in that kind of situation, no, you won't be able to start all over again that much because that entity is gone. Okay, in
Right.
fact, what the government has been trying to do in most cases is to try to give the investors some money back from, or share whatever they find in the bank account. You may not even be able to get a lot of your money or the entire invested amount because they've spent it so badly that there's nothing left. Okay. The government doesn't guarantee that you will get your money back. Okay. There's no guarantee. Okay. You're just operating on the faith that the regional center in question is operating with integrity and something else could be done. Now, the second part of that question is if it is project specific and that regional center is still liquefied or has the money, but they want to shut that aspect of the project down. It's not unusual. They may offer saying, well, we can reinvest your money or transfer uh, to this project or that project. But again, it is very unusual to give an investor a pathway to just continue without losing. Okay,
Right.
you may have to start all over again. If you can recover your money, that would be a great
Right.
idea. But you may have to start all over again.
Absolutely. Moving on to our next question from Mr. Kerry. If petition is approved, but something happens that delays my traveling to the United States, will it affect my green card?
Um, get and I will. That's a very good question. But let me use an example where that actually happened. Not so recent. Everybody knows the COVID-19. Okay,
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
it happened in my office as well. Where
Okay.
the people got their approval. Okay, they even went to the U.S. consulate. They got stamped out,
Right.
ready to travel out of the country. Okay, guess what? Uh, for less than 4 weeks, when they were supposed to travel, the COVID hit and the country was shut down. Um, eventually, they we- because the general rule is that if you get a green card approved under normal circumstance, you are supposed to travel out of to the U.S. within 180 days. That's the law, which means within 6 months of your approval. Okay, regardless of whether you have EB-5 or family law and things like that. Once you get your visa stamped on ready, we want you to enter the country in 180 days. If there anything happens like that, whether it is a personal problem because they fell sick and they can't travel, uh,
Okay.
my advice has always been consult your attorney right away. If any problem that is extraordinary, because it has to be extraordinary type of nature for you not to be able to travel. Okay, maybe it's physically impossible, and you have to go for treatment and things like that. Okay, inform your attorney. You can. It will not affect your green card. Okay, but you may not be able to travel into the country. But
Okay.
in order not to affect your green card, okay, we want to be able to tell the necessary agencies, the relevant
Okay.
agencies, okay, that you will not be able to travel into the country because of some circumstances. So get in touch, and by that you keep. You don't need to prove anything else. You've already proven to us that you're that you are qualified to get green card and you're being approved.
Mhm.
The
Yes.
question is you just couldn't make it for one reason or the other.
Absolutely, absolutely agree with that, Mr. Omini. Thank you so much for the in depth discussion as well. And that question today brings us to the end of the session. Thank you so much for joining us. A special thank you to our guest speakers for sharing his time and expertise. We look forward to having you back on the show again. We hope this webinar answered some of your pressing questions on EB-5 in new laws under three administrations. Visit our website at immigrationquestion.com to connect with experienced immigration attorneys who can guide you through your unique connection. If you missed any part of this session or would love to listen again, this live stream is being recorded and will be live for listening on Spotify. Simply search Borderless Talk by immigrationquestion.com and listen to today's session and previous ones on the go. See you at our next session at the same time, same platforms. Another wonderful guest will be joining us in the person of with the name of attorney Joycelyn Joris Contreras. He will be discussing all you need to know about the H-1B visa and transitioning to a green card. You don't want to miss it. Once again, thank you for being on the session today, Attorney Omni. It was indeed an insightful session. All thanks to you. We look forward to having you on again.
You're welcome.
Thank you
Thank you
so
for
much.
having me. All right.
It's an honor to have you, sir. Have a great noon, everyone. See you next week. Stay informed and empowered.